Hello my planner friends. So what I thought I'd do for today is I would do a little recap on the love letters or lettering challenge that I see going about, and I've been doing this since I think it was this first week in January that I started. I got the book that I found in sale at Joann's, and I will link the whole video down below. But I picked up the planner and I picked up the pens because this is something that I've wanted to do for a while, is to learn how to properly brush letter, but didn't know that, there was such a thing as a lettering planner. So this is more of an idea of my progress over the next 12 months, because this is a 12-month planner, and the idea is that every day you do a little bit of lettering to kind of use in your planner, but also just for other stuff. And here you can see I'm just practicing my stroke, my light up, heavy down, and I'm using two pens. I have the Zebra Fine and the Zebra Medium. Now I have since changed my pen, but this first month was all using those two pens. And as I look even back at my planner, this is like the past month, as I look back, even now already I see a huge difference. Changing pens, changing my hand position, changing my stroke, practice, figuring out my preferred style of how I like to letter, because as much as the planner gives you suggestions and you'll see suggestions for other people, you do get to decide what your lettering shapes look like. Now you can see here that I'm using a piece of paper with kind of suggestions on it, and those are from Judy at JLB Crafts, which is where I first saw this planner. And I really like the fact that she has a great kind of system, if you like, because here we're learning the letter O. This is our first letter that we begin to learn, and I'm going to say it right now, I don't like the one that is on this sheet, and I much prefer her O. It just feels a little better. I mean, this is fine and it's nice, but I love the O that I now have. So I practiced a good 2 weeks using this O until I found an O that I feel is more my style, and it's the O that Judy does, and it's a little different to hers even. But this was where I really started to notice that the pen pressure is the most important thing. Making sure that you're holding the pen up at the top, so you're not down near the nib, you're holding it kind of part way up, and really allowing for that light up, heavy down. Having control of your pen is so important, and it's a matter of practice, as you can see here. Yeah, check mark, that one was way better dye. But practicing it's just a matter of practice. And having this planner really, I can't emphasize enough, really helps. And I've been more confident to use it in my other planner spreads. I used it in a spread recently, even though I haven't learned the letter N yet. I felt comfortable enough to use the lettering, even though I don't know how to, quote, properly letter it. So that was week 1, and week 2 we kind of recap our week 1. We do a little bit of a recap, and we also learn a new letter. We learn the letter C. As you can tell, again, I've got Judy's list here. So she does a list every month that goes with the planner, so it's perfect for beginners. You'll learn a new letter each week, but then you'll also repeat some of the letters from the previous weeks, so you still keep that muscle memory. Whereas the planner itself, you're supposed to learn and just letter the one letter each week. So this week is the letter C, and you're just supposed to do C over and over and over, and that makes no sense, because then you forget what the previous letters were from the previous weeks. So Judy does it where you learn one letter each week, but then you use it in words with letters from the previous week. So you'll always be kind of learning different letters and combinations of letters. So the letter O was from last week, so we repeat the letter O, and that definitely got better. Oh, and I should mention here that the top 2 lines are with my medium pen, the bottom 2 lines are with my fine pen, and I definitely much prefer the fine. I feel I have more control over the fine. I like the thinner upstrokes with the fine. So we've done O and we've done C, so now we do the word coup. And it just really helps kind of bring the letters together, because you're not just going to write one letter, it makes no sense. So I absolutely trust Judy's process. It is hands down a great challenge. I definitely highly recommend it. So then we do cocoa. It's fun to see how like my hand position has changed over the weeks, trying to figure out the pen, the pressure, and I'm so glad that I recorded it, even though it was kind of tedious, and it's funny to look back and see. So now we're starting the word with O, so it's just Oko. So you get the chance to put the new letters at the beginning, at the end, and in the middle. It really is a genius challenge that she has, and it's completely free, so yeah, I was really happy with that Oko. And you got a little space at the bottom to practice, which will be your warm-up in future weeks. But yeah, week 3 and week 4, and I honestly think week 5, and even now, right now it is the end of February, and even now it's completely different. So we do the warm-up drill, the wave drills, light up, heavy down, getting used to the pressure of the pen. And one thing that Judy does say is you're not writing, you're drawing the letters, and I completely see that now. It's so fun to look back and see just in a few short months how much my lettering has changed. And we're doing E this week, so we do a little practice of E here. But this was a tricky one because the pen, they kind of go weird across the surface because you're doubling back over yourself. So we've learned O, we've learned C, and then this week we learn E. So we do a full practice with our C. After we've done the wave drills, we do a full C practice. It's also surprising how much. So now we go on to our E. It's interesting to see my hand position again because it's completely different now. So as you can see, this is where the difference in the thickness of the pen really starts to shine. Like I feel like I can get much finer upstrokes with the fine pen. But the upstroke as you come down and around is the one that I struggle with. And this is where I started to not like my O. I like the E, I like the C, but the O just felt a little bit funky. But I stuck with it. But definitely this was where I really preferred the fine pen. And I'll link the pens down below that I used this month, but if you're going to get it, I highly recommend getting the fine rather than the medium. The medium may be great for larger lettering, like the capitals and stuff. And I am playing catch up here, so I'm doing a lot of it in one go. I was trying to catch up rather than fall even further behind. I'm all caught up now. But so we've done eco, now we do co. So again, we've learned O, we've learned C, we've learned E. But putting the new letter in the middle of a word, at the beginning of a word, and just kind of slotting different combinations of letters, because they all start and end differently. As you can see there, I did not like that E at the end there. But the other thing is taking your time. Don't rush. And I think that's one of the things that I definitely did as I first started. I was rushing the letters. But this is real time, how slow you have to be just to get the control over the pen, at least initially, at least for me right now. Sense of accomplishment, as I feel like I'm finally getting somewhere. So yeah, it's interesting to see, looking back now, even just another 6 weeks after this, how much things have changed. I'm much quicker with these letters now, and I feel much more comfortable doing the letters. It's amazing how much you really have to think about things initially when you're learning a new skill. But also, don't be afraid if the letters don't line up to fill in the gap, because one of the things is learning the spacing between the letters. Much happy with a couple of those on there. So I'm probably getting maybe 10% happiness with these letters. So now we start with the O and do O-C-E. And that sometimes I do the bigger ones just to get my hand out of the small. Like sometimes you just need to kind of just go and scribble on a piece of paper and just get some of the excess tension out of your hand. At least that's what I found, especially doing it for the full week. It's amazing how much we don't handwrite anymore and how much our hands hurt from that small amount of movement. And then just a little bit more practice of some of the letters as I'm trying to figure out what I like, what I don't like. And that was week 3. Alright, so week 4. Now we learn a new letter this week, and that is the letter I. But what I begin with is a little bit of O practice, and then I go on to the wave drill. Now this is also the week that I started doing something a little bit different too at the end of this week, as you'll see, because I had that little scrap of paper that I've put in, and it was great, but I also don't follow instructions very well, and I misread one of the lines and ended up repeating some of the stuff. So we did C, we do E, which are very similar. And sometimes it's just a matter of changing the position of your hand, changing the position of the paper, where you're holding the pen, and giving yourself the leniency to practice and the time and not being afraid to screw up. So I started writing in which letter we were doing as we were doing it. I is one that I just couldn't really get along with initially. So this is where I started playing with my hand position on the pen. how do I feel holding the pen a little bit differently. And I think for the thicker one, I definitely feel better holding it like this between my index finger and my middle finger, at least this pen. So for a while I was practicing my pen work, holding my pen like this, at least for a couple of weeks. And even that, I felt like I had more control over those pens. I don't know whether you can tell the difference, but I feel the difference. That was me taking a photo for my friend. Like, hey, look, I just figured out that I needed to hold my pen different, and now I'm actually getting a decent brush lettering. And that I just, yeah, completely couldn't even spell ice. This is the thing, you're so focused on the weight and the sensitivity of the pen that you kind of lose track of the actual letters, if that makes sense. Like, you forget how to spell. So for this one, I always think it's like Geico, but without the G, because we haven't learned G's yet. So it's E-I-C-O. So we're using all of the letters together that we've learned. So again, you get the practice of previous letters. You get to put the new letter in different parts of a word or a sequence of letters. And then this is a voice, but without the V. And it's amazing how much, within a couple of weeks, things actually start to look like words. Like, it starts off as a letter and you're just learning shapes, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, that's voice but without the V. That's nice but without the N. It's interesting to see the process. Admiring my work. So this is when I started putting the words and the letters in for the next week and the next month. So by this point, Judy had put the challenge up for the whole of February, so I just went straight through and added them in to the planner just so that I didn't mess up again. Because it is nice to do the sequence that she shares, because it really feels like you have that muscle memory as you're coming back to it. So this week we're learning the letter A, which is like a C and an I put together. Just practicing some light up, heavy down, some O's, E's. And I'm much preferring the hand position with this pen. And I'm just, play around with it, see what works for you. You're not regimented into one particular thing. So this is when we start learning A. These are my first A's, and I have to say I love the letter A. I much prefer it to, I like A and O. A and O are my favorites so far. I like the A's when they're more slanted, they're on an angle, like an italic A. So then we start to put A at the beginning of a word with ace, and it's a nice one. It's a nice one to warm up with. You're getting all the curves, the ups, the downs, the joining. It's a tricky one, I'll give it that. But you can definitely see I gravitate towards those finer transitions in the fine pen than the medium. So now we put A at the end of the word. Not that ochre is a word that I know. But as you can see, I've transitioned into the new O here. Like fully, I'm fully on the new O. So then we come on to putting the letter at the beginning and in the middle. And A is kind of tricky. It's like the E, you have to start it before it's attached to anything, so you really have to figure out your spacing. And honestly, that is one of the difficult things. And again, I'm still playing around with my hand position on the pen. But this page, as I look back, even over the last, I think we're at 8 weeks now, even over the last 8 weeks, this page right here was when I started to kind of angle the page more so that my letters were more like in italics. I think ciao was also where my lettering started to improve greatly. Honestly, I think this page was where, and you know, thinking about it, some of these letters now I've been practicing the O and the C for 3 weeks at this point. So, you know, definitely don't think the first time you do a letter that is it. It does get better. Thankfully, it does get better. Practice, right? Practice, practice, practice. Not perfection, we're looking for progress. And this page was when I definitely started to see the progress. And that's what this challenge is all about. It's about that progress, day by day, week by week. So that is January and my lettering for January. I'm really happy with the progress that I've made in just a short 5 weeks. So I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for February.